Hello and welcome to a special series of Blocktalk, which we're calling Blocktalk Explores. These quick listen episodes will be split by topic area, as our guests, who are all industry leaders in Scotland, will be discussing three specific industry topics. Topic number one is education and awareness of the industry and what property factors do. Number two is recruitment within the industry and any challenges that they see. And the third one is customer care. We'll release 2 episodes in week 1, and the third will be released the following week. We hope you enjoy the series, and as always, it would be great to hear your feedback. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blocktalk Podcast. Just now we're doing Blocktalk Explores. Today's guest, who's an industry leader in Scotland, is David Reid, CEO at James Gibb. I've known David for many, many years, and I'm expecting to get some flack today, as I normally do whenever I interview him. So how you doing, David? You well today?
All good. Yep, loving the dream.
As always.
Yeah.
As always.
One day at a time, I'd say.
So let's talk about education first. What is James Gibb doing to raise awareness of what Property Factor's role is and what the flat owner landlord's role is?
So the main 2 words there, Brian, is for sure communication. Education and communication. I've been banging this drum for long enough about, and it's became more obvious to me through the whole cladding post-Grenfell scenario and involved in different platforms, Westminster, Scottish Government. And what I've found myself doing with various stakeholders involved in that is actually educating them on freehold tenure in Scotland. Last year, I was down in the TPI conference along with Hardy Dempsey from Scottish Government, presenting exactly that, freehold again tenure and what the system's like up here compared to leasehold down south. So in terms of how you educate homeowners, I've certainly started adding to our quarterly newsletter factor fiction.
All right, okay. Cool.
Which basically highlights a lot of the different scenarios we get involved in, but more so to pinpoint to the homeowners that they're the duty holders, they're the collective duty holders. And I've always said that it's driven from, again, when you look at housing associations in Scotland and you look at leasehold down south, there's always a landlord as such, and they're in control. So when the property agent and the property factor comes into play, first time buyers or downsizers tend to think that they're the landlord and they're the accountable and responsible person, when in actual fact they're the agent working for on behalf of the collective homeowners. So there's ways in which you put that education process out there. I've been talking to Property Managers Scotland for quite a while about whether all the industry members or the members at Property Managers Association, industry leaders, actually think about putting out radio adverts and TV adverts, not about advertising the association or advertising the companies, but about putting out an educational video that says, it's a common theme. We talked about it before in the last podcast, and it's always going to be there, because if you look at the demographic of it, it works out about 400,000 private flat owners, and if you include the housing association, takes up to about 650, and that demographic across the number of property owners in Scotland, it's a small number in comparison, but there's a big education that has to go on, and as I've said in the past, without repeating myself, the first time buyers and the downsizers are the ones who have no idea about factoring, and I was one of them. I was a first time buyer on the West End of Glasgow that had no idea about factors. And ironically, that was a niche in the marketplace that drove me on to obviously build a business and then latterly see it acquired.
Okay, so do you think you might have touched on this already? Do you think the industry should be doing more to kind of? I mean, you as an individual and the business you work for can do a lot, but as an industry, and I know a lot of them are part of PMAS and some of them aren't, but as an industry, could people be doing more?
Yeah, I mean, we have openly talked about it. I mean, it's sometimes you get a bit of apathy about who's joining the board. The Property Managers Association tends to be the key firms, but we've had some discussions recently about how we tie into other associations or other bodies to try and up the profile, because the profile has to be improved. But with that, there'll be a lot of the marketing and PR surrounding this. A lot of the messaging, a lot of the language has to be consistent. And there's a lot of chat. I mean, my colleagues at Property Managers Association are buying into that collectively. So as something we're looking at closely, and again, we're talking to Law Society, Law Commission, MSPs, approaching numerous MSPs. We've got the contacts through Scottish Government as well, and you'd be surprised about how widespread that education process has to happen. And it's quite. I was quite shocked, but now we know the parameters of it. We know what we need to do.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other solutions? We've talked about James Gibb. We've talked about you. We've talked about the industry. Any other solutions that you can come up with that could be put in place?
Not beyond everything else that we've covered. I mean, it all comes as we go on today. We'll no doubt get to other topics, but it all interlinks. So, off the top of my head, these are the ideas that we've thrown about the table for the last few months, because we're conscious it's something that we have to look at, because it's becoming a constant thorn in their side, because it's managing the expectations of homeowners. Which is probably the hardest part, because and it's probably the biggest part that creates a lot of turbulence in every property management and factoring company in Scotland.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, and that's very similar to what other people have said as well.